There it is. I don't even know if I shared this to my main page. I think I did. Hey everybody, how you doing today? Welcome to DA Perspective. New look. You know, we're in post-corona life now, so I think the most important thing that we can all do is to ensure our quality of life is at the highest point. And I needed some new stuff around me, so mostly for functional. So yeah. All right. Well, today's show is going to be pretty light on the content. It's going to be heavy on the conversation. I got a couple of people that are calling in. We got Cole Neal's calling back in today. He's going to go over a blog that he wrote. He's talking about small businesses and can they survive coronavirus. So we'll have him coming on here talking a little bit about that. I also have my buddy Mobley calling in. Mobley is going to call in and he's going to talk about market updates. We're going to talk a little bit about unemployment and maybe some other issues that pertain to the economy and how we can either reopen it, when's the right time, things like that. So I also have Javier Suarez calling in. He works in the design industry. He's a graphic designer. He's also doing a few other things right now to tie himself over during the coronavirus outbreak. So we're going to talk to him, and hopefully he has some really good insight on what's going on and a couple of really cool stories to share about people that he's met thus far. So I want to just let's get a Corona update. Can we do the Corona splash screen real quick? Got something hot for you guys. I don't know if go back to it. Okay. We're going to get that. Hold on. We're going to do that again. So just copy and paste my audio on the Corona scene and then throw me back in there. We're going to do it right. I'm going to edit this down later anyways to make small clips. But I appreciate you all tuning in. So let me pull up these the coronavirus numbers here pretty quick. So we can just get like an overall number. You can see what we're looking at. Forget it. That's a little Corona graphic, though. We'll tighten it up for next week. All right, so we're looking at in Cook County. I'm in Cook County. I'm in Illinois. We're looking at 18,631. Yeah, let's go full screen on that. So in Cook County in Illinois, we have 18,000.6 confirmed cases. We have 760 dead. 27,000 in the entire state of Illinois, and 1,100 people have perished, unfortunately. So United States, we're looking at 735,000 cases. I mean, that's a lot of cases, right? Considering when this first started and we were, everybody was trying to figure out how far this was going to go. 730,000 people is a lot of people. And you got to keep in mind, these are only the tests that we've taken. So there's a lot of people like, I haven't been tested. For all I know, I may have had it. I may have it. We don't know, So I think these numbers are as accurate as they can be, again, considering that we haven't tested the entire population of, the United States and or the world. So that's our coronavirus update. So let's just jump right into it. We got Cole on the line. Are we able to pull him up? Let's make sure he gets on there pretty nice like. That's okay. So we're going to get Cole sized up here and get him on in the conversation. Can you hear me now? Cole? Go ahead and unmute yourself, Cole, and give me a little hi, hello.
Yep. Hey, how's it going?
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So, we're going to get you sized up properly on this screen so everyone can see you and it not be weird.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, first off, how are you feeling this week? I know we're on, do you even know what week of Corona quarantine this is for us? It's like week 4, week 3?
I mean, at least for like week 4 and I started actually being quarantined about a week after Chicago, but I think it is about week 4 from March 16th. That was the month where everything was down. So.
Yeah, it's crazy how this has gone on as long as it has. I mean, obviously, it's something that was unforeseen to anyone that's like in our lifetime, with the exception of maybe a few very, 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 I don't even think anyone's old enough to have been alive during the 1918 pandemic. I mean, they'd be what, 118 now? I don't think anybody's that old.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah.
There might be some people who
100.
SARS, even that is very different from this.
Yeah, this is fine.
China's had their active this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if someone lived to be 100 years old and they were born in the I mean, it still doesn't make sense. So either way, this is something we've never seen before. So tell us about your blog. Tell us about small businesses surviving Corona. I know a lot of people are really interested in this. So what do you got?
Yeah, basically this is just kind of based on my research for what the what's included in the CARES Act, as small business stimulus through the payroll protection program,
Hmm.
PPP, and like employment like disaster, uh, which existed before, but they offer kind of reduce a lot of the credit roadblocks. Free grant money with that. Applications, even when it's denied. So just some of the things that like they went through to try and businesses. One is clearly not enough, but even with more help, it's hard to see a lot of businesses will survive being just businesses that like people work.
They said they can't hear him.
But it's also based on you know I was employed. A lot of people I know are employed by small businesses that make up probably a lot larger amount of the workforce than a lot of people think, but especially in cities, metropolitan areas, it makes up a much larger amount of the workforce than the rest of the country. New York, Chicago, places like LA, Dallas, they all have a lot more like maybe not LA, but San Francisco for sure would have a lot more like small business industries, be it small nonprofits, small restaurants, a lot more independent contractors here. And these are places where it's going to affect more, and we're going to be shut down for, like we said, it was 4 weeks. It could be another 4 weeks. It could be 3 months. It could be much longer than that. And even then, if traffic doesn't pick up for these businesses, they're not going to be able to come back from it. So that's basically what we're facing. And then the article kind of goes more into the stimulus, the actual kind of nitty gritty of the PPP and the EIDL loans and how that's failing. Lots of small businesses we're seeing, and disproportionately those that are under 50 employees. This stimulus applies to any business under 500 employees.
Yeah, but these turn him up on 3.
Sorry. But these really small businesses is going to affect a lot worse. And those are a lot of places we see in the city.
So from your research, because as we could see that payment protection plan, it all ran out, right?
Yeah.
So
that is completed. Not taking any new applications as of this week.
Right. So I know that there's supposed to be another stimulus. What have you heard about that? And is it specifically for small businesses, or is it just for the individual?
I mean, I'm not sure the details of kind of new stimulus bills they're working on. I know that that's kind of in the works for that, but I do know most of Congress is on board with passing more funding for the PPP. I think about 250 billion more, and it originally was 3.5 billion, but there's a big question as to whether or not that'll be near enough, and then even still, if that's going to actually get to these businesses. What we're seeing is that a lot of them still don't have access to it because it ran out, because it's a very slow process, and I think we have very easy and kind of helpful website, the COVIDLoanTracker.com, shows kind of a representative of like small businesses that have gone through this process. And of those that have been accepted, they have something like, let me see, it is like 1% of those people have actually received any of the PPP loan money.
Right.
The free grant from the EIDL, like, still hasn't gotten through to most people and is less than the 10,000. And the loans of the EIDL are going to be much harder to get, just based on what some people are saying. So,
Right.
they might pass more funding for it, but there's still a lot of issues with it actually reaching these small businesses. There's a huge backlog of applications with these banks, and they're all taking on businesses that are their clients first, because of course you would. If you're a bank, you're like, well, if you have lending experience with us, then you're just kind of got to be first in line. we can't tell them not to do that as far as the government, but then that means these small businesses that don't have lending history, or weren't with a SBA, a Small Business Association approved bank before this all happened.
Right.
Like, are they going to get these loans at all, even when more funding passes, if they're in the
Well,
back of this huge backlog?
right. Well, that's the thing. So, for instance, a buddy of mine who is he's like a true freelancer, independent contractor, meaning he doesn't have a business incorporated as an LLC or filed with the state.
Yeah, yeah,
He and I took the same exact track, with the exception of I have a bank that's an SBA lender. So I personally, I filed through the SBA. What I did was I did the EIDL, the SBA emergency loan.
yeah.
Then when they came out with the new the new application for the payment protection program, but it was still through the SBA, I did that. Then
Hmm.
when the bank decided to put their application up for, I have Chase Bank, I did that, right?
Yeah.
I received a stimulus, but I did not receive the payment protection program money. I have a business that's incorporated in the state of Illinois.
Hmm.
So I don't know how they're working the system out. So, and the way that I filled out, because I'm an employee of one, I wasn't entitled to a lot of money. So it wasn't like I was asking for like like $600,000. So I don't know how they're dispersing all these funds. I think that's a big gray area for a lot of people right now. But I do want to pull up that website that you were telling me about, the I
Yep.
think COVIDLoanTracker.com. I may have closed it. Let me pull it up here one more time.
Like, are getting or have gotten it approved. I don't know. No one's actually seen money from the loans yet, but
Right.
are often getting less than they ask for, specifically when they ask for under $500,000.
Yeah.
Oddly, those smaller requests are more likely to have less of their requests fulfilled, which obviously is
Right.
affecting
Which
smaller
takes
businesses more.
which takes me to a very interesting point. Um, what we found is what banks are doing, and see, this is why you don't have protection programs for the people go through banks,
Hmm.
because banks will always do what is in their best interest, right? So what the banks did was, whatever businesses owed them the most money were the ones that got the loan money first.
Yeah.
Makes total sense, right? So, like, for instance, I don't owe the bank any money, and that's why I got an email that literally said the program ran out of money. I'm gonna pull it up in a second. So the program ran out of money. Nothing we can do for you. We're waiting for further guidance. I was only
Yeah.
entitled to $1,000. You mean to tell me that Chase Bank couldn't have just said, you know what, we're gonna pick up the pieces where the SBA fucked up, right? Where the government
Well,
messed up. You're falling through the cracks. You've been banking with us since you were 18 years old. You have incredible credit. You got money in the bank. We're gonna help you out. We're gonna give you $1,000. They couldn't do that. Bank was
yeah.
just like, nah, we can't do anything.
Well, because like you said, you're not in debt to them. You don't have that lending history, and so yeah, you're further back in the line, even though you've been banking with them. And so then I'm not sure exactly how it was in your case, but it sounds like if you just got $1,000, that was part of that up to $10,000 grant
Right.
that they gave on right on application, but it's actually only $1,000 per employee.
Right.
And so since you are like a contractor
One.
LLC, then that's why, like, you're a single employee, and that's all
Right.
they're going to give you. And it
Wait,
also
wait,
affects you
right.
worse if you don't have a payroll.
Which
Um,
which here's the thing. In the sense that, like, I know I only have, it's just me, right? So I'm not crying
mhm.
because I didn't get money, whereas like other people that have more employees did, right? But it's the idea that, like, these the way that it's being rolled out is very, like, just shotgun mentality, just shoot it all out there, and everyone has a different way to kind of like take care of it. Like, banks were not given very much guidance as to how to implement this program. All banks were
Yeah,
told was
exactly.
that, here's this money, figure out who gets it. If they follow these guidelines, you get to ask us to forgive it, to forgive the
Hmm.
loan, right? So basically, the SBA basically put all the risk onto the banks, and banks inherently are risk averse. So again, they're never going to do anything that doesn't benefit them. So not only are they incredibly risk averse, but they took it to a point where they basically discounted the entire reason why the damn plan was put in the first place. It wasn't to save a host of these companies that didn't need to be saved. And I forget the guy's name, but this billionaire guy was going around CNBC and the financial shows this a week ago, basically saying we need to let big business fail. Certain businesses that haven't proven themselves to be solvent on their own of their own volition deserve to not be in existence anymore. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and that's these big businesses are getting this kind of this blanket bailout, while small businesses, it's piecemeal. It's going through the banks.
Right.
Which, by the way, I didn't even include the article, but these banks are making a lot of money off of putting off these, like giving out these loans just from even the reduced interest they have, and because the government's trying to make it so they'll take on the risk. So they're making a lot of money off this. But airline industries, cruise line industries, what I do mention is that 50% of the American workforce works for small businesses, including contractors and independent owner employees. Like that is half of the U.S. workforce, and that's why I think they put out any sort of small business stimulus that tried to include contractors, because they realized that at least they got to give them something. We need to prop this up a little bit, but it's still not enough to make those people who make up a lot of our not just employment records, but
Right.
actual drive the economy, as these like independent contractors and like urban small businesses is we're going to lose a lot of money. Essentially, a lot of people are going to be out of jobs, and unemployment's going to go much higher up if even just a small portion of these businesses fail, which it looks like. I think there was another statistic I put in the article from, I'll have to see who it is, but basically it put out projections for how many small businesses will close because of this.
That's
17% is the optimistic look. That's like, it could be much worse than that. And that's a lot of workers.
No, and honestly, I'm pretty confident that it is going to be a lot more than that. I think what people are not understanding, and again, I mean, I'm a young person, and I'm only like now kind of starting to put this all together based upon what happened in 2008, right? So in 2008, that recession happened, the housing crash, all that stuff. I mean, I was early on in life. I had no idea what was going on, why it was happening, all these things. But I see this slow moving iceberg now, right? I see now how the economy is taking a downturn because of the lack of work that's happening right now. So the cause for what's about to happen, I foresee is, I mean, I see it as different than what happened in 2008, right? This isn't because of CDOs and bad housing, bad lending practices, but not yet, right? But we don't know yet. Meaning,
still coming up.
Yeah, right. And like I said, I've been saying this, and I'm going to say this every damn show, every damn chance I can get. We know that 30 some odd percent of the United States did not pay their rent on the first of last month. Okay, we're halfway through this month. The first of next month is going to be really, really tough for a lot of people. Like I said, some people got stimulus checks, some people didn't. Some people got payment protection program checks. Some people didn't, right? And what sucks is that the marginalized, or not the marginalized, but the communities that need the stimulus money the most are often the ones who don't have to file a tax return because they fall into a certain bracket, right? So that was their whole scramble to create this website for them to just give the IRS their social security number. You mean to tell me right now in no government database that those people's information was in there already? This is ridiculous, right? So again, these people who needed the money the most are probably going to miss their rent check again if they haven't already once. So the second week of next month is going to be really, really tough. And that's when I think we're really going to start seeing the pain of this whole economic shutdown because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, exactly. And essentially, I think what the government's trying to do is they're outsourcing, this essentially stimulus and welfare they'd be giving directly to people through stimulus checks and more unemployment and just financial aid. Not to mention all the medical care that they'll need. They're trying to outsource that to the private sector by bailing them out, but
Right.
we're still seeing these huge layoffs everywhere in all these big companies that are being promised bailouts. Like there's still people being put out of work, and if you can't operate safely, that's fine, but they're not giving any sort of leave, and they're also cutting off any medical insurance benefits they would have offered from those people by just laying them off. So
Yeah.
it's again a waste of this money that could be going directly to people instead of going to these large businesses that aren't going to take care of people any better than the government.
Right. And this is crazy. And like, I don't, like, to be honest with you, I'm not much for talking about Bernie at the moment, but I think the movement itself
Yeah.
still deserves our words. And it's crazy. This is literally, and this is where I think a lot of people got really upset with the whole way that the Bernie campaign played out. It's because this moment is literally a living example of everything that they were fighting for. Everything. We talk about universal health care, some form of guaranteed. See, he was in contrast with Andrew Yang as far as UBI was concerned, but Senator Sanders' answer to UBI was a federal jobs guarantee, which is essentially, again, what we needed right now. We need a way to guarantee money into people's hands, especially during times of crises. So, we have the student loan debt crisis that's about to bust as well. I mean, our country is so over leveraged with debt from literally from the top down. We just took out what, $7 trillion, I think it is. The stimulus itself was $2 trillion. But there's so much more money that's being thrown out there that most people aren't even aware of. I think it's in upwards of $7 trillion. And my buddy Mobley, he's going to come on in a little bit and talk about that too. But we're so over leveraged with debt right now that I fear that it's all going to come down and crash at the same time. People are not going to be able to pay their mortgage. They're not going to be able to pay their rent. So now we have a housing crisis. People have 9-year car notes now, by the way. So we're going to have people that are defaulting on their car loans. Because they're going to choose between something.
Yeah.
We're going to have people that they're going to stop paying their student loan payments. Right? And yeah, okay, so Trump said that he's going to defer your payments for 2 months. Like this, once everything starts back up again, it's not like all this stuff just went away. None of this was forgiven. Everyone has to still pay all this back.
They're trying to get rid of the forgiveness programs that people have, were legally in place for student loan before all this happened. That was basically Betsy DeVos's job, is to like find any way that there was student loan forgiveness and make sure it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So you're right. Especially if unemployment, can't be brought back from this. If it takes a while for people to start working again, like all this debt has to crash at once. That's inevitable. And then you have a joblessness crisis followed by a homelessness crisis.
Yeah, and people don't understand, there's 75 million homeowners in the United States, and 50 million of them hold mortgages, right? So, this is going to be pretty substantial once this keeps rolling on. And even when people start getting back to work, you think like we're going to flip a switch and like everything's just going to run back to normal? No way, man. Everyone's buying habits are still going to be all over the place. The operations, like the daily operations in different workplaces, are going to have to be reconfigured, towards people's natural tendencies now, because we're changing. We're changed now. I don't think we go back to exactly the way we were before. It doesn't happen, especially not without a vaccine.
We have to change now. It's not like this is a one-time thing. Like we have to, even if it's not necessarily a virus, like we have to look for a future where there are environmental hazards, and we're gonna have to change the way we live and live less conveniently. And it's hopefully we have learned something like that, but that's also going to take investment. And if we're just trying to go on about our lives and act like everything's normal, then yeah, a lot of people are gonna get hurt.
Okay, so before you leave us, I want to play this short 40-second clip for you, and I want your reaction. You may or may not have already seen it. Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
Do you know what happened with Dr. Oz this week?
Yeah, yeah, I've heard about this. I haven't seen the clip though.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play the clip. You got me queued up. All right, let me unmute this.
Dr. Oz, help us. Well, first, we need our mojo back. Let's start with things that are really critical to the nation where we think we might be able to open without getting into a lot of trouble. I tell you, schools are a very appetizing opportunity. I just saw a nice piece in The Lancet arguing that the opening of schools may only cost us 2 to 3% in terms of total mortality. And, that's any life is a life lost. But to get every child back into a school where they're safely being educated, being fed, and making the most out of their lives with a theoretical risk in the backside, it might be a trade-off some folks would consider. We need to get industry back, supply lines. I mean, things that we can do without putting the nation at risk.
All right, so clearly a gaffe of sorts, right?
Yeah, because also, I mean, why? I blame anyone who puts Dr. Oz on TV first
Fair
and
but
foremost,
here,
and
so,
then I blame Dr. Oz for saying
so,
that,
Okay, so because I think framing means a lot towards conversations, and it's unfortunate that the framing of conversations sometimes isn't the best. So I've also read things, and even to myself thought, well, this idea that if you let it run its course, right? Like it runs it. I mean, this is a natural process of life. People would, kind of look at Darwinism to explain a pandemic, right? Survival of the fittest kind of thing. The world is trying to reset. I mean, look at the environment, right? The what is it in Venice? The water's clear. It hasn't been clear in almost 100 years or something like that. There's different things that are happening as far as what people could say are cleansing things. And again, I'm not, saying what Dr. Oz is saying, but that question, right? That idea, that question doesn't come out without negatives. And the question is what we're doing now with this prevention the right idea, or is all the hurt that's going to come from the prevention? Because obviously this whole conversation that Dr. Oz and homeboy on Fox News had was all about the economy. It had nothing, right? That's all these people care about is the economy. So again, at what point is that the right question, or is it never the right question, right?
Well, and I think that's kind of also the problem with this is there's at least the basis. I don't think I ever say it in any reasonable ways with Fox News, but like there's the basis of a reasonable question of like not saying that, we have to decide between lives and the economy, and at some point it's the economy, but of saying that like these are both drastic things. Like the economy crashing and and having a very permanent effect on a lot of people's lives is absolutely a bad thing that we need to weigh in this conversation. But when you frame it like that, like, it's going to cost 1% of lives and this much of the economy, like let's open the economy, that's where they start, they take that reasonable idea of a conversation that should be having had to something that's like, it's just turning lives into numbers and being very callous about it. And, it is also like, it's a false equivalency. We can make it through this and be safe. This all wouldn't happen if there was, better regulation in place to begin with. But, but like, trying to take those lessons, not feeling like this is good because the earth is healing, but it's like, okay, well then how can we make sure we live our lives where the earth heals and we're not just willing to sacrifice anyone?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that people actually take a really long second and pause. I really hope that people take a really long pause to really reevaluate what is the most important thing in life. Even I myself have really done a lot of introspection, a little soul searching throughout this time. Because I now that I think about it, I was kind of getting not off the rails, but I feel like I was following the wrong path, right? Like this, we all get sucked into. I mean, the only way I know how to describe it is just what we know of capitalism today, right? Get as much as you can while you can, right? Instead of get what you need, get what you need, take a break, hang out with your friends and family, smell some roses, then go back and get more of what you need. But it's, it kind of felt like I was getting here and I was just only getting. That's all I was worried about. So I really hope people kind of change the way they think about the world. I believe the world is actually alive, right, with us. So this whole thing with the air clearing up and the rivers and all that stuff, I mean, I'm glad it's happening. I just hope people can keep it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right,
I
cool.
hope, yeah, we can live in a better way like that. And I agree. You know, it's definitely that mentality created by the capitalism and just, you know, the system we live in. And I hope, yeah, you know, this teaches at least some people who are willing to learn a lesson about that. But yeah, only time will tell.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, Cole, go ahead and plug your stuff real quick, and then we'll get you on out of here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me again. It was always great conversations. But yeah, I mean, I've got my blog, right to know, colon, WordPress,
Yep.
and I'm always on Twitter, at Cold Brew, KOHLD Brew. If you
Nice.
want to see more of any thoughts I have there. But thanks.
Awesome, dude. Thanks for your time today. We'll be in touch, my man.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, thanks,
Yeah.
dude. All right, peace. All right, yeah. So Cole's always really cool to talk to. We're gonna get Mobley on the line because I want to jump right into this next part. So yeah, Bastion's dad. So yeah, lots of tough discussions going on, right? Obviously, we don't want to sacrifice kids to. That's cool. We'll just wait for him to get on the line. If he decides to. No, not working. No worries. Is he in? Are you on the line? See ya.
What's up, bro?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Unmute yourself.
Cracking like
What's crag-a-legging? How are you today?
good, bro.
Looking good, my man. Looking good. All right, so I don't know. Did you catch the last discussion that I was having with Cole?
No, I did not.
Oh, that's fair. That's fine. So we'll just jump off where him and I left. So first of all, thanks for coming on the show again today. Always good to have you. Give yourself a little quick intro, real quick. Tell people who you are, real quick, that who haven't seen you, don't know you, and then we'll jump right into it.
Teron Mobley, Chicago. It's my hometown. Currently, San Antonio, Texas. United States Air Force veteran. Full-time father. Full-time OG. Full-time real dude. That's about it.
Okay, full time. That's a lot of work. How do you work so many hours, man?
Hey, man, shit, 25, was it 25/8?
Oh, you're talking about 80-20 Pareto principle?
Oh, shit, whatever you want. We can do that, too.
I think that's what it is. I think it's the Pareto
Yeah, I know.
principle. Let's see. Let's see.
Well,
I got this.
Yeah. I'm the
got
20
this.
that does the 80.
Yeah. Pareto principle, 80-20. Yeah.
Yeah.
20% effort for 80% of the results. If only it were that easy.
20% of the people do 80% of the work.
That's also true. All right, so basically, when Cole and I left off, I had posed the question to him. So I played this clip by Dr. Oz, which basically Dr. Oz is saying that he read. Did you hear the clip yet or no? The Dr. Oz clip?
No.
All right, I'll play it for you. It's 38 seconds. For those of you who have already seen it, I appreciate you standing by for another 40 seconds. I'm going to play it for Mo here.
Dr. Oz, help us. Well, first, we need our mojo back. Let's start with things that are really critical to the nation where we think we might be able to open without getting into a lot of trouble. I tell you, schools are a very appetizing opportunity. I just saw a nice piece in the Lancet arguing that the opening of schools may only cost us 2 to 3% in terms of total mortality. And, you know, that's any life is a life lost. But to get every child back into a school where they're safely being educated, being fed, and making the most out of their lives with a theoretical risk in the backside, it might be a trade-off some folks would consider. We need to get industry back, supply lines. I mean, things that we can do without putting the nation at risk.
So basically, right, they're talking about the economy. And so he was saying, and again, I've heard this from a lot of people, it's a valid argument, and it may not be right, but it's valid to ask this question and it's valid to talk about it in this way. So there's one body of thought that says we shut the economy down, prevent people from getting sick, and then go on from there. That's what we're doing now. The other body of thought is, okay, it's time to reopen the economy. We know that by doing so, there will be collateral damage. And, you know, based upon our previous employment experience, that was something that people had an afterthought about, which was the collateral damage and the lives lost. So what is your opinion on the matter?
I think that I think that we do need to reopen our economy. And I say that because I heard Cuomo this week, Governor Cuomo,
Mm-hmm.
and he made a quote. He said, and his message was to Trump. He says, "Don't pass the buck without passing the bucks." But he was saying that in reference to New York not having any money. Pretty much, I mean, they're starting to be exposed. You know, the weaknesses in their budget is starting to be exposed. So my thing there is, you have to decide at what or how much you're willing to give up for the amount of security that you're asking for. So I get it right now. There's not a lot of security, group security, social security. There's not a good sense of it.
Right.
Being that, nobody knows what's going on. But like I said, I'm the guy that watches everything the Fed does. So to me, it's almost troubling, just the amount of money that the Fed has spent, just in this short period of time. So to somebody, a state like New York, if the Fed prints, $7 trillion and the state of New York gets $2 trillion, that's $2 trillion that the Fed now owns for the state of New York. So you have to decide, that's influence. If you ask me, money is influence. So you have to decide how much you're willing to give up. So if we're gonna sit and be at home, if we're gonna be a work from home economy, we're gonna give up a lot, for that, because just think about it. I look at somebody like my mother's job. She works from home, and now the office space is being used for storage of equipment. So now the office space is repurposed, but now the cost is passed on. Some of the cost is passed on to the worker now. So the utilities, as far as the internet, the electricity, so on and so forth, like these things are all passed on to the worker now. And then the employer gets to save money by not using so much and then utilizing the space, the industrial space, for something else. So
Right.
Very interesting how like I said, I mean, it's very interesting how this all is played out. And then two, if you look, I'm sure, I don't know if it's this way in Chicago, but if you look around the city of San Antonio, there's a lot of empty commercial real estate space. Even malls, they're not how they used to be. You've seen the small stores disappear. Your Macy's, your JCPenney's, your Dillard's. I mean, I don't know, whatever else that was around when we were, in our
Right.
mall hopping days.
Right.
You don't see that stuff anymore. Everything's online now. So it's that way in San Antonio. I've spoken to plenty of other people, and it's that way where they live as well. So I think that the banks made out in all of this because their customers, which are the leaseholders of these industrial properties, they're the ones that have been bailed out from all of this.
Right.
So, it's really interesting, so we have to decide, to what point are we going to make this life or death? And if we're going to make it life or death, because the Federal Reserve's mandate is employment.
So
if we're going to,
yeah. So I was telling Cole about that 7 trillion figure that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So explain to people why, because they're throwing around 2 trillion, right? Tell us why it's 7.
Yeah. Well, 2 trillion based on the package that was passed via Congress. But there's another $4 trillion that the Fed has printed prior to this, along with, and so here's the scary part about the other 4 trillion. We've lowered interest rates to 0. So what the Fed is doing is they're buying bonds. And these bonds, there's different grades of bonds. You can have corporate bonds, municipal bonds. But the Fed buys bonds. And these bonds are, they have all lengths, 2 months, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year. And the Fed controls the shorter end of the range.
Okay.
But anyway, with these bonds, this is what you as governments, as organizations, these are things that you have some form of collateral. some form of debt. It's all collateralized debt. So if the Fed comes in and buys your debt for cheaper than what you paid for it, you're at a loss already. So that's one thing. And then if I come in and buy your debt for cheap and I'm the individual that controls the interest rates, what do you think I'm going to do in the long run? I'm going to raise the rates on the debt that I just purchased.
Right.
So when inflation comes back around, it's going to be, it's going to be crazy. You know, we're going to start yelling at each other again. You know, why do we print this much money? You know, everybody's got short memories. We're going to forget. But that's what the Fed's doing. $4 trillion in bonds that cut interest rates. And, so your city, your state, certain companies, if their debt is collateralized in the form of bonds, that's what the Fed is purchasing.
So for the average person who, that's a lot for them. How do I say this? What can the average person be looking towards as an indicator for what they need to do moving forward, right? So average person meaning they're going to start going back to work. They don't have thousands of dollars to invest, right? So the stock market is something that could be used to signal them to do something else. Like maybe now is a good time for them to maybe start looking at property or saving in what sort of asset. So do we need to be stacking dollars? Do we need to be stacking gold? Like, what do you feel people should be doing? Like the lay person, not the Wall Street guy who makes $250,000 a year, right?
I think that first you have to define whatever goals you're wanting to achieve. And then two, if you're somebody like me, I just look at percentages. To me, numbers are enticing. So, for your average savings account, you're getting 0.02% interest. You're going to get that you're going to get a greater yield, your interest rate, you're going to get a greater yield from something like gold or an equity, a stock such as Amazon or Apple or something of that fashion. But if you're really wanting to, if you're the average lay person, defining your goals is one thing, and then two, setting aside, most people think that that investing is for people that have a ton of money. That's the furthest thing from the truth. You just need to start somewhere. Everybody has 10, 15, 20, $30 to set aside per week.
Right.
So if you sit $25 a week, $25 per week, that's $100 per month, $1,200 a year. $1,200 a year gets you, I don't know what Apple is now, maybe 270 or something close to there. But, you can get 3 to 4 shares of Apple. You can even break it into smaller things. Things are really cheap right now because of the pandemic. We had this big sell-off in the market. It was just a mass panic selling, liquidation. They call it a liquidation break. But if you're somebody that's been waiting for a long time, that was the perfect opportunity. And you still have time to hop in on some of these things. So in that light, right? So I want to shift gears to talk about your reaction to striking workers. So I'm going to play this video and then we'll get some commentary from it thereafter because, true to form, this is going to affect the market as well, right? So
in the home of the U.S. auto industry, Michigan residents naturally took to the road to voice their anger. Operation Gridlock also spilled out into the streets of Michigan's capital, calling for an end to one of the strictest lockdowns in the United States and a new beginning for businesses that had been shuttered for weeks.
This arbitrary blanket spread of shutting down businesses about putting all of these workers out of business it's a disaster.
But Michigan is also one of the fastest growing coronavirus hotspots in the nation. And Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who has banned residents even from traveling to their own vacation homes, isn't backing down.
I know that people are angry, and that's okay. And if you want to take it out and send it my way, if it makes you feel better, that's fine. I support your right to free speech, and I respect your opinions. I just urge you, don't put yourself at risk. And don't put others at risk either.
In one of the nation's newest hotspots, South Dakota, more than 500 workers at this now cloosed Smithfield pork processing plant have tested positive for coronavirus. and fear is spreading just as quickly.
You'd see very crowded departments, very crowded floors. You'd see narrow hallways, narrow staircases.
With no national plan in the U.S., each state is making its own rules, which means there is no uniform strategy across state lines. The U.S. has a patchwork of inconsistent laws. In New York, people are now required to wear a mask when out. Here in Chicago, the mayor has shut down the waterfront so people can't gather here. But South Dakota is one of 5 states with no lockdown and few rules. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is making no apologies.
The plant here is incredibly important, not just to Sioux Falls, not to South Dakota, but to our nation.
And with governors in Michigan and elsewhere facing mounting pressure to reopen businesses, some wonder whether the inaction of neighboring states will keep the virus alive and a threat to all states for months to come. John Henry.
Right. So that's an example of people who want to get back to work. There's also some examples coming out of California of workers who have been working through this whole pandemic, like the fast food workers, workers at the Instacart, the delivery workers, the people that work at grocery stores. Some of those people are now, because of lack of PPE, they're not working. I heard a story about a McDonald's in California where their way of striking was because the drive-thru was the only thing open at McDonald's. The employees were driving around the building in a circle in their cars to block anyone from coming into the drive-thru, which I thought was pretty good and effective. But so we're about to have a working crisis of sorts, whether people are working or they're not working, or they are working and not having the right equipment, so they're not working, if that makes sense. How do you see this affecting the market? And, where do we go from here? What do you think?
I think that I can make 2 arguments. The first thing that I'm going to say is I have no clue what's going to happen.
Nice.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
But this could affect the market 2 ways. And from what I've seen, based on media coverage and the market reaction, the market wants everyone to go back to work. So every announcement that's been made in regards to opening up the economy, any positive news in regards to virus developments or vaccine developments or any trials or anything like that. The latest thing was the trial in Chicago. I think 125 participants, only 2 people died, and the market went crazy based upon that. And then when Trump came out and said that he was going to reopen the states, or he was going to release the authority to the governors,
right?
The market went crazy based on that too. But going forward, I think what the market wants is some form of certainty, and how you get that is based on guidance provided from these companies based on their earnings. Some companies I've listened to their earning calls here recently, Nike and Starbucks. And from what they say in China, they've rebounded. They're looking for a strong rebound, in the second half of the year. So if that proves true, you're going to see the market higher. And it was weird, prior to all this happening, all you saw was, all-time high, all-time high, all-time high. And then we went back to, okay, this is the lowest low since 1918. But if we do rebound positively in the second half, you're going to see the market higher than it was prior to where we sold off.
So you think So you're saying that you think like once the economy rebounds in this V that everyone's talking about, that we're going to go higher?
It's going to be a really ugly V. It's going to be like a VU. Yeah, and it's based on market conditions, and these companies have to report earnings. So you're not going to have people just going in blindly now.
So what you're saying is you think that we're going to surpass previous all-time highs?
Yes, I do believe that. I think every form of currency, even Bitcoin this year, I think that this is going to be a year to which people, we started off really depressed, but I believe the second half of the year we're going to rebound.
Man, I hope so, because 2020 has been and it's not even for me. I mean, this is like meme stuff. Everyone is like, wow, 2020, go fuck yourself. So
here, another thing with the market, while the Fed buying treasury. So people think that, the Fed's printing this money, they're buying stocks. They're not buying stocks. They're just buying the debt from the companies, right?
Yes.
And so as an investor, when I look and I see that, oh, these guys can't service their own debt, it makes me want to sell the stock. But now that the Fed has came in and serviced the debt, so to say, or giving these guys a pass, that's what, as an investor, I look at that and say, okay, well, I'll give them a pass for, 1 quarter.
Right.
There's plenty of companies that, I'm looking at going into next quarter, and I want to hear from the CEOs themselves. Hey, this is what happened. These were the damages, or we couldn't assess it, whatever it is, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But I do think that we're going to respond positively. There's too much pent up. If you ask me, everybody's just pent up. Everybody's ready to just go out and do something.
Yeah, definitely. Well, on that,
you can't just have people that's the scary part too. You can't just have people go back to work. There's people that have been out of work for how long? 30 days?
Right.
And they live check to check.
Right.
And so
that's where it's going to.
What do I do?
Yeah, that's where it's going to get a little hairy. Once they reopen the economy, infection rates, I predict, are going to spike again. We've found out recently that it's shocking that about 50%, if not more, of COVID cases that are test positive are asymptomatic test positive cases. So, yeah. Right. All right. Well, on that note, sir, we're going to keep it moving here. I appreciate your time today and your insight on the market. Definitely looking forward to having you back once again. Do you have anything to plug? You got a Twitter or fucking Trading View or something you want people to check you out?
Nah, man, I don't do any of that, man. But certain people, how to reach me. So if you need any advice or anything like that, I'm more of a, I take care of, people that, near and dear. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So you're basically just telling me, not everyone else, right?
Well, no, if you're interested, drop me a line or whatever. Yeah. If you're interested, just get in touch with me, and I can guide you in the right direction. But
yeah, no worries.
It's one of those things. I like to put training wheels on people.
No worries. I could probably do that. If anybody asks me, I'll make sure that they give you, or that they get a hold of you. So, all right, Teron, man, Mo, I appreciate your time, and I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, peace, bro.
Thank you. All right, so let's go and get Javi on the line. Before we did that, I wanted to show everyone. So this is the email that I got from Chase. So hopefully no one fucking hacks me or other weird shit that people do on the internet. So go ahead and go full screen on my browser. You could probably kill Mo's feed if you want to hit the little eye on that. Transition over. Great. All right, let's see if I can get this a little bigger for everyone. There we go. Look at that. All right. So Chase sends me this email Friday, 12:30 p.m. Sad afternoon. SBA has committed all the funds from the first round of the Paycheck Protection Program. Thanks. Tell me something I don't know. Dear business client, as predicted, the SBA's Paycheck Protection Program was hugely popular. In fact, we have learned the SBA has approved loans that will exhaust all of the funding available for the initial round. We have notified all of our customers who received funding in the first round. I wasn't one of them. That's why I'm getting this notice. It says, we understand that many of you are disappointed and are frustrated because we haven't updated you on the status of your application. This is true. And we will do better starting in the next days. Congress is currently considering another round of funding. In the interim, we're committed to continuing to work our existing queue of applications so we can be ready, contacting you with questions, emailing you on the status of your application, and letting you know if and when additional SBA funding is available. We realize how important these SBA funds are for your business. We're doing all we can to have your application ready. Thank you for being a Chase customer. Go fuck yourself. Chase doesn't care about you. Signed, Jennifer Roberts, CEO of Chase Business Banking. I hope you can see the screen because the last part of that was a joke. So Chase, massive fucking bank, can't figure this out, right? They're waiting for the government to tell them what to do, and I get it, right? They're a business, they're risk averse. They don't want to give out money that they don't know is going to be guaranteed by the SBA. Whatever, man. You're a bank. Your job is to take care of people when they need it the most because we've entrusted you to hold our funds this entire time. Chase actually recently, this is how good, and we're going through this again. This was the whole 2008 thing. Everybody was leaving the banks and all this stuff. saying support local credit unions and all that. And you know what? Unfortunately, as a business owner, sometimes you have to do what's most efficient for your business. And Chase's banking network is just so robust and large, and the products they offer, like it makes so much sense. It's just I wish that could come without the shitty operational back end. So Chase increases the mortgage. Let's check this out. So another thing Chase did this week that was on the shittier end of the spectrum. If we can go, I'm still on full, right? So JP Morgan Chase to raise borrowing standards for home loans. So what does this mean? This means if you're a small family, this is basically going to decimate the small family. Small families, obviously, the ideal vessel for wealth accumulation and growth is buying a house for you and your family, right? And previously, you could buy a house. Interest rates are at record lows. Banks had kind of figured out what they did wrong in 2008, and they started lending money to people. I was one of those people that was very shocked to get a home loan, but I got it. Well, now that's going to be no more. And so when we talk about the economy tightening up and not being what it once was, hustling and bustling, all-time highs, Trump economy, best economy in the world, all that shit, things like this whole JP Morgan, this Chase tightening this thing, this is going to put a halt on regrowing that economy as fast as possible. And again, this is risk aversion. This is Chase trying to protect itself from what it foresees to be risky lenders in a risky time. Some of you may say, well, they're not wrong for that, right? Well, it depends on how you look at the economy. Depends on how you think the world should live. We just had a conversation about coronavirus changing the priorities of humans. We can't take any of this with us when we die. And I understand wanting to have a really good life while you're here. But everything's not about money, man. It can't be. It can't be. That's how we got into this mess in the first place. No reserves, no savings. No one had anything. And yeah, some of the responsibility falls on you, for sure. You should have been saving up for a rainy day. But I will also fight for you if it's you against the government and both of you guys are in the wrong. They're in the really, really wrong, right? This is what our government's for. This is why you pay your taxes. This is why we haven't burned this bitch to the fucking ground yet, because we're expecting it to still work for us. So when we look at the largest bank in the United States tightening their borrowing standards because they want to be risk averse in a time when they should be looking at alternative ways to reinvigorate the economy, it's kind of saddening, right? It just literally shows you that they do not give a shit about you, and I hate that that is the reality of the world. So the bank nation's largest lender by assets and fourth largest mortgage lender in 2019. Sorry, let me make this bigger for you guys again. Oh, is that too big? No. Let me close this here. So I'm here. The bank's largest. Can you move my box to the right, please? Because we're covering the words. So the nation's largest lender by assets and fourth largest mortgage lender in 2019 will require any new mortgage applications to make a down payment of 20%, whereas 10 was the standard, right? And you have to have a credit score of at least 700 beginning on Tuesday. Here's the thing. Let's do some simple math, okay? You live in Chicago. You want to buy a house. You're looking at least $200,000. At least for like a fucking little shoebox that you're going to live in, right? Let's say you got kids, right? You want to buy a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home in my neighborhood. My neighborhood is being developed at the moment. It's, you get a house around here for like $220,000. What's 20% of $220,000? I got to use a calculator. I'm smart, but I'm not fucking genius. So, let's see. There it is. $44,000. $44,000 to get a $220,000 house. Do you know anyone that has $44,000 put down? It was hard enough for them to get $20,000 in the first place. The average American makes fucking $40,000 a year. So yeah, I find it's just I'm sharing this with you because I want you all to be more well informed about what's actually happening in the economy instead of I get paid, I put my I put my check in the bank, I pay my bills at the end of the month. I want you guys to be actually more aware of everything that's going on around you and how these institutions are really not working in your best interest. And I hope that in the near future, we can figure out a way to rectify this in the same way that we said we were going to do it in 2008. And, hopefully we figured it out now. All right, we got Javi on the line. Oh, you didn't call? Sorry, I told him we were going to call. Oh, with the... Yeah, we'll figure out how to kill that... Yeah. Anyways, Javi on the line, brother.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hello, sir. How are you today?
Great, man. How you doing?
Good, good. All right, give us a second. We're gonna get your face up on the screen.
Sure.
Something else that looks good next to mine. Awesome. All right, yeah. So we see you. Let's see. 1 second. Why am I seeing? Oh, that's my browser. All right. So, how's your day today? How are you doing during coronavirus? Tell everyone about yourself. Say hi to everyone.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Javier. I'm a graphic designer, illustrator, and I also work part-time at a liquor store, Essential.
Yeah. So your liquor store is considered an essential essential entity, huh?
Yeah, you know what, man? Like I used to joke about that, but honestly, I feel like it's a good thing for the most
Okay.
part that liquor stores are open because I feel like it keeps people kind of occupied in homes and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like people.
Yeah.
I mean, most of our regulars, like foot traffic hasn't stopped. People are just stocking up on way more than usual, which is, like I said, better than them being out and belligerent on the streets and shit.
That's fair. I actually I was watching a news story that was out of Russia, and I believe it was Russia, whatever local mayor or whatever in the town, basically he made it dry. He said everyone here already drinks it a lot. Now to have them in their homes cooped up and drinking like 3 times more, he's like, I will have more deaths on my hand outside of coronavirus if I do that. So he shut it down in that city. So it's kind
How
of
did
wild.
that work out?
I don't know. I mean, this story was like maybe like 2 days ago. So maybe Rome burned. I have no idea yet, but
Maybe wrong.
yeah. All right, so I had a conversation earlier with my buddy Cole and also with Mobley, and we kind of we talked about the market. We talked about Dr. Oz wanting to sacrifice kids. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh God.
I know. So the non-essential. So I'm really interested. You mentioned the liquor store. I'm interested to hear the sentiment of your customers. In passing, what are these things that they're saying to you in confidence that you want to tell all of us now?
Yeah. You know what's funny, man? I think the thing that I find, because okay, so for context, I work at it's not like a typical corner liquor store. It's like a pretty upscale kind of bougie, like it's more of a liquor store that you'd go to find some fancy niche like
Oh,
liqueur or
not Jack
something.
Daniels.
I mean, there's Jack Daniels. People
But
go there for like our collection,
got
etc.
it.
And the reason I bring this up, it's a lot of our clients, like quote unquote gentrifying type. So it's a lot of like kind of like middle classy, like either white hipster or even like Mexican hipster type, which
True
is
to
cool. I
form.
mean,
Yeah.
whatever. The demand is there, so of
Right.
course we're
The
gonna be
demand
there.
and the ability to transact.
Right, exactly. So more power
Okay.
to us, I guess.
So yeah,
The
so
reason I
tell
bring
me, I assume they're going to be whining of some sort, or is this where this is going?
well, the reason I bring that up is because for the most part, it seems like we get pretty much mostly like maybe like college educated people. It seemed like pretty like intelligent people come in. It
Okay.
doesn't seem like I don't know, everyone like they have a college degree, at least for the most part, people that come in, and I still hear like the dumbest shit, bro. Like I like the dumbest shit, like and it's been surprising for me because I would expect that from not the type of people that come to my shop.
Well, one of the other, one of the great things about this whole pause on life is that we're learning everything we thought we knew is not what we knew, right? So, but yeah,
Right.
okay. So what are they saying? Tell me what they're saying.
So it's ironic because I think yesterday or 2 days ago I saw a poll. I think you did this poll where it's like 30% of U.S. Americans think that COVID-19 was created in a lab,
Yes.
and I read that and I just scrolled past it on
You know the
Twitter,
government's
but then
they're
huh?
investigating that now, right? The government.
Right, yeah,
Yeah. I think
but
it's a
I don't
deflection
know, man.
tactic though.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so many people at my store that are saying similar things, man. But at the same time, they're also the type of people that come in wearing a mask, and when they get to the register, they take it off and talk to you. It's like,
Yeah.
yo, it's crazy because like I think at this point, half half of people that come in wear a mask,
Yeah.
and about half of those that come in take it off at the register, talk to me,
To talk to
or
you. Like you can't
which
hear
I'm
through
just
it.
like, why are you even wearing a mask? You know?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And I think like even stranger, there's like older like Mexican men that you could tell like at the restaurants or construction,
Right.
like the labor.
I understand. Yeah.
Yo, they come in with the wildest conspiracy theories, bro.
Really?
Like they'll be telling me everything from they have a vaccine, but they're killing like brown people off, so they're gonna hold
Yeah.
off until. And I'm like, and I always ask the question, look, if this is a bioweapon, which we may or may not know this, but if this is a bioweapon,
Okay.
like what's the mortality rate on COVID-19? Like 1.5%, 2% or something
Yeah, it's
like
like
that.
two. Oh, isn't it? Is it two or I'll look it up. Go ahead. Keep talking.
So okay, my whole point, it's like 2, maybe 3%. I don't know. It's very low. If someone were to create a bioweapon capable of killing a large portion of the population, why would you
5%.
create something? Okay, well, I mean that's still like like why would you create a weapon that only has like a 5% like mortality rate? You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
mean, well, here's the
I don't
thing
know,
though.
man.
Look,
It's
look. If this was created, I can't even believe we're talking about this, but let's do it. If it was created as a bioweapon, look what it did. It literally only
yeah,
had to touch 5% to destroy this whole economy, put everything at a
true,
standstill, and
true.
then expose our leadership for fucking buffoons that they are.
Yeah,
They were totally, they knew it was coming, didn't do shit, had the audacity to fucking talk shit about it before it really popped off, call it a democratic hoax,
yep, a
just
hoax. Yep.
China virus, all this bullshit, like just trying to downplay it. And here we are now.
I
So
really sort of accountability. I mean, I know like accountability, but in the sense of like, I feel like kind of like the veil of complacency was lifted a little bit with
mhm.
this, pandemic. Which I mean, obviously circumstances are pretty tragic for a
Yeah.
lot of people. A lot of people have passed away. I mean, we had the deadliest day in Illinois, like what, 2 days ago.
Yeah, I think we
Um,
definitely just took some crown for deaths
it
in
was like
Illinois.
150 or something, like in one day or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. This has really shown that we have a very um inefficient infrastructure in healthcare and unemployment. Like, um, it's crazy, man. Because I'm even seeing videos of people calling like the unemployment office like every day, like a few times a day for weeks, and it's just like it goes right to like their machine or whatever.
Right. So I'm glad
Because
that
it
you,
like,
yeah, I'm
mm,
glad that you went there because that's what I wanted to ask you as well. So I know not to divulge too much about your life, but you were having some,
oh man, have at
hell yeah,
it.
hell yeah. All right. So previously you were looking for full-time employment before Corona hit. And so
Right.
obviously this put a damper on that. Were you able to navigate the unemployment process before, during, and or now?
You know what? I've been freelancing full time for about 9 to 10 months now.
Okay.
So even before the whole COVID thing happened, I was comfortable freelancing full time, but I was also searching for a full time job that I would enjoy. So it's not that I couldn't find a job; it's like I couldn't find the right job, if that makes
Fair.
sense. But a lot of times, like with my freelance, I do work with a lot of different industries. So, I'm always thinking about like diversifying like the type of clients I work for,
Mhm.
because if something were to happen in one of them, then I have fallback clients, and stuff. So this I've never filed for
Okay.
because I've never really gotten to the point where I felt like I needed to.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
now like hearing everyone's experience with unemployment office and shit, I'm like less
right. Less
um
inclined to do so.
right
Well,
less
so
inclined.
here's
So with this
here's
message,
my
yeah.
here's my
Mm,
rebuttal to that, and I'm only saying this because maybe some people listening have the same conception as you, right? It's like
sure.
I'm in a good place. I have enough to go around. Like I have enough now to keep me going. Other people probably need it more than me. Whatever your rationale is for not doing it, but the reality is you've paid into this thing, right?
Right.
So
No,
so
absolutely. Yeah.
get your return on your investment. The idea of these social safety nets is to have a return when we need it the most. And I think that's what upsets me the most about this entire thing is we had the whole Bernie Sanders thing get fucking derailed by corporatists once again, right? And now we're
Absolutely.
in the midst
Yeah.
of the most profound time that could be used to highlight what he was fighting for and what that movement was fighting for.
Absolutely. Man, and we've been having a lot of those conversations here at my household, and even at work. There's a lot of regulars that I feel like are very good to that notion. Um,
Yeah.
but absolutely, man. Like I feel like honestly, so if I got this liquor store job right before the pandemic hit. Honestly, if I didn't have that job and I went through this pandemic with just my freelance, I would have no choice to file for unemployment
Yeah.
because there's absolutely no. I mean, it's not that my work stopped, just like payments stopped,
Yes.
which is understandable. A lot of the clients, there aren't businesses or corporations that I work with; they're individuals.
Right.
So obviously priorities change. Not like these projects are done.
Right.
They're just kind of like at a standstill for the time being, because of
Yeah.
everything going on, which is completely understandable. But I
Question
mean,
for you. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
sure.
You rent, right? You
I
rent
what?
you rent from
Oh, I
a
rent.
landlord.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, did your landlord have a conversation with you about what was going on, or do they already know you're good for it, or how did that work out for you?
You
Because
know
we
what?
know.
I'm blessed.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, as I was going to say, because we know, a third of people didn't pay their rent last month. Which, to be honest with you, and we keep saying a third, 30%. It's actually normally 22% of people that don't pay their rent every month. So we only went up 8%, but still, it's a. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'm blessed to have like a really phenomenal relationship with my landlords.
Oh yeah.
They even before the shelter in place order was put in, my landlord like prematurely let me know that I was if I needed it, he can take off some off the rent because he knew that things were going to get really tough for everybody. And then once the shelter in place order came through, we really appreciated that because we didn't realize that we didn't know if we were going to because I mean, at that point, again, I worked at a liquor store, but we didn't know what were essential businesses and what weren't. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no clear outline for what wasn't for a few days after that.
Right.
Because there was some confusion on our end with the owner whether or not we were classified as essential. But I guess I think within like days we. But even then, like the city is now shutting us down at 9 p.m. every day. Like there's so much uncertainty around all of this that
That's what that
it's really
was. I
yeah. So
I went on the GoPuff, right? The GoPuff app.
yeah, yeah.
I noticed that. I mean, I wasn't gonna buy alcohol. I was just trying to get like gummies and shit, like sour candy or whatever. But I noticed that the alcohol was turned off, and it was like I don't know, like 10 or something. And I was like, since when can
Yeah.
you not get alcohol ever? And so that's what it was. They shut it down at 9. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, there was you know what, and I don't want to. Mayor Lightfoot is such like a cop.
She's a
Like
cop.
she's such a cop. I
Oh,
feel
that's
like
why
she
that
has
whole
such a
meme thing came
cop
out with
approach.
that where her standing everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, she just has such a like law enforcement protocol for everything that to
Yeah.
me is just kind of in some instances, don't get me wrong, I agree with it, but in other instances I'm just like there's this very one-dimensional view on how to solve different issues. So what the issue was specifically on the south side but also on the west side, there were just people just loitering around liquor stores and it
Okay.
became a problem. It became such a problem that that Mayor Lightfoot announced that after 9 p.m., basically people can be fined if they're just hanging out around liquor stores.
So is that why
So
they
that
shut it down?
is why they shut it down.
Hmm.
So 9 p.m. after 9 p.m. If it's like a store like Mariano's or Jewel, no liquor sales after 9. But they did a blanket thing to basically target specifically the South and West sides because there was a lot of people just not following protocol for the shelter in place and
Right.
just hanging out. And it's really hard to like find ticket someone if they're just like, oh, I'm about to shop right now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to break up groups if there's a business that's open there and then they're on premise. But oh man, that's such a like a half measure. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
been just so many half measures because I even heard that the city has taken down. They like covered basketball rims, or they took down the whole
Really?
rim.
They took the
Yeah,
nets
to avoid
down?
people from going to the basketball courts and shit, which I think is fucking like it's hilarious. That's such a cop ass approach to these,
Yeah,
which is
it is.
like on one side I get it, but also on this side I'm like some weird petty. I don't know, man. I can't really speak on it. I'm not law enforcement. I'm not mayor, obviously.
Yeah. No, and it's yeah, it's a sensitive subject because, and this was the whole Dr. Oz thing, right? Some people
Mhm.
think just let it run its course, right? It's a virus. Virus will either kill you or you get better from it. There's only two things that happen. And so the thing is, like, we're trying to prevent the inevitable from happening by shutting down the economy and telling everybody they can't shake hands anymore, right? And so the debate is the percentage of collateral damage low enough that people can live with themselves for doing that so that they can live with themselves, if that makes sense, right? You reopen the economy, everybody's lives improves, the quality of life improves for those who are not morbidly affected by coronavirus.
Or at risk of
yeah, because basically what
contracting
Dr.
and
Oz
possibly
says, he
dying,
said
yeah.
that he read a research study that said if they open the economy back up, we'll only lose 2 to 3% of the kids. That's what he said. So
I saw that on Twitter. I didn't even look into it. 'Cause I'm just
that's
like,
what that
whatever.
was. Yeah, it's like tone deaf, man. There was another thing that
man.
was tone deaf too. Oh my god, it was tone deaf of the week. Let's see if I can pull this clip up here pretty soon before we shut this down. It was Nancy Pelosi on Colbert or something.
Yeah.
And she
Already not.
it's just, yeah, like, first, dude. Okay, here we go. Let me find the right here. This is 2.5 minutes. Okay, listen to this, and or you can see it too, right? So watch this clip. This is the
Yeah, I can
tone
see it.
deafness of our people. It's only 2 minutes, some odd
Welcome back. We're here with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and we've asked her to share something from her home for a little late show and tell. Speaker Pelosi, what have you found? What are you going to share with us from your home?
Chocolate.
Really?
Chocolate candy.
Oh, wow.
And this is
where the tone
something you
deafness
can
begins.
get through the mail.
Okay.
Never run out. Now show
Show
you.
me. Yeah, absolutely. This is the episode of Cribs I never knew I needed. Oh, my. Wow.
Other people in our family go for some other flavors, but chocolate, and then we have some other.
So basically, hey, poor people at home with no fucking stimulus money, no shit, no whatever, right? You don't know if your job's coming back. We don't know if you paid your rent. We don't know if you can pay your rent next month. Like, just fuck all y'all. I got all this ice cream. And if I'm not mistaken, I've never eaten at Jenny's ice cream, but I heard that shit's $12 a pint.
Yeah, Jenny's is expensive as fuck.
So
yeah, that's like, yeah, that's expensive.
That shit just fucking makes me so mad, dude. It makes me so mad. So
it's almost like we were talking about this earlier here. I don't understand like celebrities complaining that they're stuck in their mansions and shit. Like
Timberlake did it. Did you hear the Timberlake backlash?
I'm just like y'all have like pool shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he said, oh my god, I want to find it verbatim, but this guy said something about 24-hour parenting should be against the law or some shit.
Oh, of course.
Here it is. It's not just human. Here, look, this asshole does it on fucking camera too. This is how. And again, I'm sure they're not bad people. It's just like
it's
Fucking be
you
a
know,
little more
they've obtained
self-aware.
a certain lifestyle that like I get it, right? You start living like this, and it challenges all of that, you know.
Yeah. Here, look, listen.
Just want to check in on the status of you and your lovely wife, because I'm this close to throwing my husband off the balcony. So do you feel like this quarantine has helped your relationship or hindered it? This close.
Well, you know, I'm sending good vibes to you. You know, you'll make it. You'll be all right. No, it's you know, to be honest, we thought the best way to kind of do our part was we have a place in Montana, and so we came up here and we feel a little bit.
Pause. First of all, first Red X. First Red X. We have a place in Montana. All right, hold on. I'm gonna keep
Of
it going.
course, you know, just in case, you know.
First of all, we
like,
thought the best way
right.
to write out Corona is not with the peasants. Hold on a second.
We feel very lucky and kind of blessed that we're in a place where they're pretty socially distant here anyway. I mean, where our place is, and so I mean, just being able to kind of walk out into your driveway and maybe go for a little hike.
In your driveway because it's so long. Hold on, he's gonna get to the point, Justin.
It is always nice, but I think we're doing good. We're mostly commiserating over the fact that we just 24-hour parenting is just not human. It's not.
Because everybody needs a break.
Oh my God, that's so funny. You've never raised your own fucking kids. We get it. How tone deaf, right? It's just again, this is what I want people to see, because it's not that I want to vilify celebrity culture, or people with money, but it's like this is what we've created. We have a class system here that we've created, that we've allowed to be creative because we don't challenge any of these social norms.
And you know what? On that note, there was and it's kind of sickening how fucking tone deaf like politicians that are in charge of policy. I forget the guy's name. The guy who he was commenting on like the specific number of $1,200 for a stimulus check.
Oh, right.
And,
sorry, go ahead.
He said that, you know, it's like, yeah, that should last the average American about 10 weeks.
It was I think it was Mnuchin. Mnuchin's the guy who's creating the policy.
10 weeks. Like, what is
Steve
your rent,
Mnuchin.
dude? Like that's. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's barely like median rent in the country, right? Like $1,200.
Yeah. And this guy was like, yeah, and you'll have the checks by tomorrow or some shit like that. And it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah, man. This is, it's really fucking like sickening, man. You know, like I said, I'm personally like I'm fine. You know, like I'll be all right. You know, I don't have a savings account, but I have enough like diverse streams that I'll be able to at least like pay rent and stuff, you know. And you know, I can live like not an inconvenience.
Well,
I haven't broke all my life.
Well,
I can do that.
Yeah, you are a little bit. No, it's okay. So we'll just actually what we'll do is we'll do a special episode where you get to tell us your top 10 ways to be broke but fabulous, and then we'll.
Oh, I would love.
Yeah, I'm totally down for that. All right, well, Javi, man, you got any? You want to plug Ego Booty or any other things you're working on? Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. At Ego Booty, hire me. Good, but graphic designer, illustrator. I'm always available for freelance commissions.
Nice, and they'll find you at Instagram at Ego Booty, right? For that.
At Ego Booty, correct.
All right, my guy. Well, thank you for coming on as always. We'll chat soon, and looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Sure, man.
All right, thanks, dude. Peace. All right, yeah. So there's 3 different perspectives of, from what's going on right now in coronavirus. Appreciate Javi, Tehran, and Cole for stopping in and giving us some of their time. I know time is very valuable to everyone right now, especially because we're all contemplating our own existence and the existence of others. So yeah, I really don't have much else for anyone. I wouldn't mind let's just throw that Corona for a loop real quick. I just want to on this scene. Yeah, I got America. Anyways, yeah, so I want to thank all of the nurses, the doctors, the teachers, everyone who is really on the ground floor, fighting this. I want to thank the mothers at home taking care of their kids. You know what I'm saying? Do not want to thank Justin Timberlake, though, and his wife, because apparently they're doing hard without their nanny or whatever. Kidding. I'm sure they're very nice people. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank everyone for doing their hard work. And as always, I may not always be right, but at least I started the conversation. Thanks for tuning in.